Once upon a time, in a land where the stars shimmered like diamonds against the velvet sky, Anna found herself standing in front of a grand, glittering palace, a palace she had built with her own hands, with the help of a mysterious lion who appeared whenever she needed him most. She stared out of the window, her heart swelling with pride. The cold wind brushed against her cheeks, but inside, warmth and peace had taken root. She was no longer a mere servant, she was a princess in her own right. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Word of the beautiful, independent princess spread far and wide. Soon, suitors came from every corner of the kingdom, each more handsome than the last. They came in grand carriages, bearing gifts of gold and jewels, but Anna's heart remained unmoved. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Yet, none of them captured her heart, until one day on the edge of the horizon a figure caught her eye. His face, though weary, was familiar. She leaned closer to the window. It was him. The gardener. He was no prince, no noble, no knight. But to Anna, he was everything. Her heart skipped a beat, and without hesitation, she descended the stairs to meet him. "Hello," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. He looked up, and their eyes met, one filled with longing, the other with uncertainty. Slowly, a smile crept onto his face. Anna felt her chest tighten. This was love. Simple, pure, and beautiful. But love, as it always does in stories, can be cruel. Anna and the gardener, soon to be her prince, spent every day together, wandering the palace gardens, their laughter echoing through the halls. But when the day of their wedding arrived, the gardener left for the village, promising to return soon. Time passed, and Anna waited. Her heart grew heavier with each ticking moment. Hours turned into days, and still, he did not return. Frantic, Anna set out on a journey to find him, determined to uncover what had happened. Through the snow and the wind, she searched, until one day, deep in the forest, she stumbled upon the lion once again. "Come, Anna," the lion said in his deep, rumbling voice. "I will take you to him." With that, he scooped her up, and together they soared through the snow-covered hills, faster than the wind itself. They arrived at a distant land, a place where shadows seemed to stretch endlessly across the earth. Anna stood before a castle, its walls cold and dark. Inside, she saw her beloved, now nothing more than a puppet, entranced by the beauty of the troll's daughter. "No," Anna whispered, her heart breaking. "It can't be." The troll's daughter had ensnared him with her magic, stealing his heart and his will. But Anna was not one to give up easily. She ventured into the town, seeking a way to break the spell. A man, old and wise, spoke of a powerful charm that could undo the enchantment. With the promise of gold, Anna traded her last treasures, and that night, under the dim light of the moon, she returned to her beloved's side. But the spell held tight. Each time Anna tried to wake him with her kiss, the magic grew stronger. Desperate, Anna tried once more, this time using the final gift the lion had given her, a coin, enchanted with the power to undo any curse. As she kissed him once more, the spell shattered, and her beloved woke, confused but free. "My love," he whispered, his eyes clearing. "You came for me." And with that, Anna's true love was returned to her. Together, they fled the palace, leaving behind the troll's daughter and the life that could have been. But the troll's daughter, consumed with rage, followed them. The lion, fierce as ever, leapt to their defense, leading the lovers to safety. King, stepping back, his heart racing. I've seen your tricks before. This whatever it is you're planning, it's not right. My children will never fall under your spell. Witch, smiling wickedly, her eyes gleaming with power. Ah, but they already have, my dear. Did you think they didn't notice? Did you think they didn't feel the weight of my presence? She pauses, letting the words sink in, before continuing softly. I've been weaving for them, too. Invisible threads, delicate, subtle. And soon, those threads will tighten, just as I said. One by one, they'll fall into place. King, his voice shaking, a flicker of fear in his eyes. No, you won't control them. I won't let you turn them into puppets, twisting their hearts. Witch, leaning closer, her breath cold against his skin. Puppets? Oh, darling, they're not puppets. They're simply, my children, just like you're my king. And we all serve a greater power, don't we? The law of this kingdom, the law of the land. Once you marry me, I'll be their mother, and they will see that I'm the only one who understands them. King, gripping his chest, feeling a cold knot of fear in his gut. I cannot. My heart belongs to their mother, to the queen who is gone. Witch, smiling cruelly, her voice dripping with venom. Your heart is weak, old man. And now, it belongs to me. You will marry me, and when you do, I will be your queen. Your children will accept me, whether they like it or not. They have no choice. She pauses, her voice turning to a cold whisper. You'll see. I always get what I want. King, defeated, his voice barely a whisper. No, I won't let you do this. I'll protect them, whatever it takes. Witch, sneering. Protection? From me? My dear, you've already failed them. Now, all I need is the ring of power, and the kingdom will be mine. The prophecy will be fulfilled, and your children will know their place under my rule. Princess, gasping, looking at the three ravens before her, a strange weight in her heart. You're telling me to keep silent for 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days? How can I do that? My voice, it's all I have left. Raven, with a soft, haunting croak. Silence is your only path to salvation, dear sister. The spell is strong. If you speak, if you utter a word, even a whisper, it will all be lost. Princess, eyes wide with fear, but determination beginning to grow. But how can I live in silence for so long? How will I survive this curse? What about my family, my father, my kingdom? Raven, nodding gravely. You will survive. You must. Silence is your strength now. And the curse, it will only be broken when the time is right. When the 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days have passed. Then, and only then, will the spell be lifted. Princess, clenching her fists, tears beginning to fall as she looks at the ravens, then nods slowly, making the promise. I swear. I won't speak, not a word, no matter how hard it gets. She presses her finger to her lips as a vow, a symbol of the promise she has made. And with that, the ravens take flight, disappearing into the sky, leaving the princess alone, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision. The princess, alone, stumbling through the forest, hearing the echoes of her vow. I cannot speak. I must be silent, for them, for my family, for my kingdom. The forest around her seems to grow darker, more oppressive, the silence becoming deafening as the hours stretch into days. The princess learns to live without words, without the comfort of conversation, her heart heavy with the memories of her loved ones. Yet, as time passes, the curse remains silent, ever present, an invisible chain binding her to her vow. Which, smiling slyly, speaking softly to herself. Ah, the baby, the last thread to bind her to her silence. And what a beautiful boy he is. But not for long, no. He will be mine as well, just like the others. She will break, piece by piece. I will have it all. The princess, now aware of the witch's evil machinations, knew her silence was still the key to her brother's salvation. She couldn't speak, not even a whisper, but she felt the weight of the curse growing heavier with each passing day. And with the birth of her third child, the pain of silence became unbearable, especially as whispers began circulating the halls of the palace. Whispers in the castle. What kind of mother loses her children and never speaks? What is this curse? She's bewitched, isn't she? It's the witch, she's the one who has caused all of this. She's the one who controls her, controls everything. The princess heard the whispers, but she couldn't respond, not even to deny the rumors, and the guilt of her silence gnawed at her heart. But she kept her vow. She kept her silence, even as her children were taken from her one by one, disappearing into the hands of the witch. Princess, in the depths of her heart, praying, hoping. Please, let them be safe. Please. And one night, the princess could no longer bear the weight of it. In the dark hours before dawn, she rushed into the garden, where the earth still held the echoes of her pain. She knelt down, her hands digging into the soil, and with every desperate movement, she released her silent scream, her anguish pouring out through the soil. She screamed until her throat was raw, until the first light of morning touched the earth, and the weight in her heart felt just a little bit lighter. The ravens, circling above, as if answering her call. Hold to your promise, dear sister. Hold on, for it will be the only thing that can save you. The princess paused, lifting her eyes to the sky. The ravens circled overhead, her brothers, who had been transformed by the curse. She could hear their silent plea, a whisper only in her heart. The curse, though powerful, could not break her spirit. She promised she would not speak, not for her own sake, but for them. Days passed. Her second son was born, and though joy filled her heart at the sight of him, the fear of losing him too began to creep in. And the whispers grew louder. Whispers in the castle. There she is again, the cursed mother. Will she lose this one too? She's so silent, so cold. The witch has a hold on her, you can see it. She cannot speak, and her babies vanish. What mother does that? What mother can't protect her own? Princess, in the depths of her heart, speaking only to herself. I love them. All of them. But I can't speak. I can't break my promise. Not now. And as the time passed, the witch's grip tightened, but the princess' resolve remained firm. One night, she had a vision, a dream where her brothers appeared before her as ravens, their eyes full of sorrow and love. Brothers, in the dream, speaking in unison. Hold on, sister. Hold on to your silence. We will be free. We will be whole again, but you must endure. Princess, with a tear slipping down her cheek as she silently nodded. I will hold on. For you. For all of us. 3 months later, the princess gave birth to a third child. The castle was alive with gossip, fear, and uncertainty. They had learned that the witch had a taste for power and for kings, and now she was after the princess's family, after everything the princess loved. The witch's grip was tightening, and no one trusted the princess anymore. Stepmother, smiling wickedly to herself, speaking to her allies in whispers. The princess is broken. She will speak soon. She must. All of this, it's almost over. The princess, despite the crushing weight of silence, remained determined. She would keep her vow, for she knew the curse would not be broken unless the time was right. And even though her heart ached for her children, her silence was the key to freeing them. For she was not just a mother, she was a sister, a protector, and she would do whatever it took to save her family. One night, after a long day of silence and grief, the princess took her youngest son and went to the garden. The pain of losing her children, of being unable to protect them, weighed heavily on her, but she continued to dig, to search for a way to break the curse. As she dug deeper, she uncovered something hidden beneath the earth, just beneath the surface of her pain. She cried out silently, the tears falling freely as she held her son in her arms. And at that moment, the ravens circled again, and in the quiet of the night, the princess knew that her silence would soon be rewarded. She would keep her vow, but the day of freedom was coming. The hedgehog boy, now growing older and still weighed down by the name Buff Hall, lay in the corner of the barn, his thoughts drifting into the dark night. The rooster, his only companion, crowed outside, but the boy didn't stir. His quills pricked against the hay as he thought of his mother's soft touch and her constant love, even though the world outside had rejected him. He had learned from the villagers' cruel whispers, the way they looked at him in disgust, and he had learned to hide himself, to retreat into the shadows where he wouldn't be mocked. Buff Hall, thinking to himself in the darkness. I was born strange. I was born different. But what if there's more to me than this? What if I could be something else? What if I could prove to everyone, prove to myself, that I'm worth something? He stared at the barn door, where the dim light of the moon peeked through. He had always been told he was nothing but a beast, a creature not meant for the world of humans. But deep inside, there was a flicker of hope, a glimmer that perhaps he could change his fate. The night was long, filled with his thoughts and the sound of his own quiet sobs. But as the hours dragged on, he felt something stir within him, a feeling he hadn't had before. A sense of determination, of wanting more than just being the hedgehog boy. He wanted to prove that he could be different. The next morning, Buff Hall woke early, before the roosters crowing, and made a decision. He would leave. He would leave the farm, the shame, and the whispers behind. He would find a place where he could prove his worth. He had heard of other lands, places where magic and strange creatures roamed free. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could find someone who would understand him, someone who wouldn't judge him by his appearance but by his heart. Buff Hall, whispering to himself. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I have to go. I can't stay here anymore. It's time to find my own path. With a determined heart and his small bundle of belongings, he set off at dawn. The road was long and unfamiliar, but Buff Hall pressed on. He didn't know where he was going, only that he needed to leave his old life behind. As he walked, the sun began to rise, casting a warm golden glow across the fields. And in that moment, as the light touched his quills, Buff Hall felt a strange shift inside him. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He wasn't just a creature of the earth. He was something more, a being capable of change, capable of finding his place in the world, no matter how different he seemed. Days turned into weeks, and Buff Hall continued on his journey, facing many challenges and meeting many strange people along the way. Some were kind, others cruel, but all of them helped shape him into the person he was becoming. Through his travels, Buff Hall learned that it wasn't about changing who he was, it was about embracing his uniqueness, accepting himself for who he was, and learning to love his differences. Buff Hall, reflecting one night, sitting by a campfire. I once thought I was cursed to be alone, but now I see. My differences, they are my strength. I don't need to hide them anymore. I just need to find those who will see me for who I truly am. One evening, while traveling through a dense forest, Buff Hall came across a clearing, where he saw a group of travelers gathered around a fire. They were singing and laughing, and there was an energy about them that Buff Hall hadn't seen in anyone before. They weren't judging him, they were just living, enjoying the simple moments of life. Curious, Buff Hall approached them. "Traveler," smiling warmly. "What brings you here, friend? Are you lost?" Buff Hall hesitated, unsure of how he would be received. But something about their warmth made him feel safe. He decided, for the first time in his life, to speak without fear. "Buff Hall," quietly. "I've been lost for a long time, in myself. I've always thought I was different, ugly even. But I'm learning to accept who I am." The travelers looked at him, not with disdain, but with understanding. Traveler, nodding. "We are all different, friend. It is those differences that make us who we are. Come, sit with us. Share your story." And so, Buff Hall sat with them by the fire. He shared his journey, his pain, and his growth. The travelers listened, and in their eyes, Buff Hall saw something he hadn't seen before: acceptance. Not just of him, but of the uniqueness that everyone carried within themselves. That night, Buff Hall realized something profound: it wasn't the world that needed to change. It was him. He needed to believe in his own worth, his own story. He didn't need to hide. He didn't need to fit in. He just needed to be true to himself. And with that realization, Buff Hall's journey had only just begun. He wasn't sure where it would take him, but for the first time in his life, he felt free. The princess, still clutching the worn iron shoes, stood at the edge of the stream, gazing at her reflection. Her heart was heavy, knowing that she had walked a long, arduous path, both physically and emotionally. But now, with her hair faded to white, she understood what it meant to lose herself in the pursuit of something that once seemed so attainable. "I have walked the world to find you," she whispered to the wind, hoping that somewhere out there, in the distant corners of the earth, her husband could hear her voice. The path she had traveled was long and tiring, but she knew that no distance would be too great if it meant she could undo the wrongs she had committed. And then, as if in answer to her plea, a figure appeared by the water's edge. His coat, no longer of quills, shone in the moonlight like a creature reborn. The gravel hog, his face now that of a man, smiled gently at her. "Have you come for me, my love?" he asked, his voice like the sound of distant music, bitter, sweet, and somehow both familiar and new. The princess stepped forward, her heart racing. "I have walked so far, and I have come to claim you," she replied, her voice filled with both sorrow and joy. "I have walked through deserts and storms, through snow and fire, all to find you again." The gravel hog nodded, his eyes full of understanding. "But you must know, my dear, the hardest part of this journey is not the miles you have walked. It is the journey inside yourself, where the true transformation happens." The princess, her eyes shining with unshed tears, looked down at the worn shoes in her hands. I thought I had lost myself forever, she whispered. But in the end, I realized it was never about the distance or the time. It was about the promise I made to keep my heart true to you, even when I couldn't speak. The gravel hog stepped closer, his hand outstretched. And now you have found me. The spell is broken, and we are free to live as we were meant to. He reached for her hand, and as their fingers touched, a warm glow enveloped them both. The spell that had kept him in his beastly form faded, leaving behind a man who was no longer cursed. And in that moment, the princess knew that all the pain and sacrifice had been worth it. Come, he said, leading her towards the path that had once seemed so distant and unreachable. Let us go home. Let us begin anew. Together, they walked away from the stream, the first light of dawn breaking through the trees. Their journey had been long, but it had led them to this moment of peace, where love and redemption could finally take root. And as they disappeared into the distance, the story of the princess and the gravel hog was passed down through the ages, told by firesides, whispered by the wind, and shared by storytellers who knew that the greatest stories were the ones that began in darkness but always ended in the light. And so, the princess and the gravel hog lived out their days in peace, their love stronger than ever, as they built a new life in the forest where their hearts had found their home. The villagers, who had once whispered about the strange curse, now spoke only of their enduring love, a love that overcame even the most impossible odds. But that, dear listener, is how stories go. They start with magic and mystery, fear and longing, but always find their way to a place of warmth, where hearts are healed and promises are kept. And as the sun sets on this tale, remember, the best place by the fire is always reserved for the storyteller. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of wonder, transformation, and hope. Until next time, sleep well, and may your dreams be filled with enchantment.